Thank you for coming to my talk entitled Dynamic Diets Partially Rescue Female Fecundity. So animals live, feed, and breed in dynamic environments, and these environments can affect the physical condition and trait expression of these animals. And we know that early nutrition can have strong negative effects on reproduction. But only a few studies have examined how an improved adult diet can benefit females in that it can recover ovary mass and egg number. However, an improved adult diet can't always rescue all traits. For example, an improved adult diet cannot rescue survivorship. And while these studies have informed us about how female survival and fecundity can occur or can be rescued across these dynamic environments, a lot of these studies have used artificial or partially artificial diets to get at these questions. In addition, they have used shifts in diet that may not be occurring in nature with animals that are unknown in terms of what they shift to in nature. So we want to know how dynamic host plant diets affect reproductive recovery with animals that have known shifts in nutrition. So a perfect organism for this is Narnia femorata, the leaf-footed cactus bug, and they are specialists on cactus pads and fruit. And the juveniles and adults live and feed on the cactus fruit and cactus pads, and they have distinct juvenile and adult stages, and body size is fixed at adulthood. And as I said, they're specialists on prickly pear cactus, so they have a long breeding season that lasts when the cactus fruit has just come out, and it is early in the growing season, and then it matures through late into the season. So that is represented by the early season fruit is green and the late season fruit is red. And we know that for Narnia specifically, the early season fruit is of low quality and the late season fruit is high quality because in a previous study using males grew relatively the same size bodies when reared on both of these diets, but their reproductive organs were different sizes. So those that were raised on the lower quality diet had smaller testes relative to their body size compared to those reared on the higher quality diet. So what we want to know here is what are the impacts of host plant diets on female survival and fecundity, and to what extent can an improved adult diet affect female survival and fecundity? So to do this, we put juveniles onto both late season and early season fruit, cactus fruit, and we allowed them to mature into adults and then remain on those diets as adults. And then we took a subset of those that were on the early season fruit and we switched them at adulthood onto the late season fruit. And from here on out, I will be calling these diets late season, early season, and switched diets. And once females became reproductively mature, we placed them into their cactus pad environment with a male, and we allowed them to freely mate for 4 days. We removed the male, and then the female was allowed to lay eggs for 14.5 weeks or until the end of their natural life. So we wanted to look at the effect of host plant diets on female survival, where survival probability is on the y-axis and time in weeks is on the x-axis. And just so you know, the date of adult eclosion, or the date that juveniles turned into adults, is at week 0. And we found that those females that were fed the switch diet did not differ in terms of survivorship between any of the other two treatments, but early season females and late season females, those did differ. So those that were fed the early season fruit were less likely to survive than those fed the late season fruit. When we examined female fecundity, we found that diet affected female fecundity, and you can see that the early season females struggled to produce any eggs. There were lots of zeros down here, whereas the late season fed females were producing a lot more, and then the switched diet females were producing somewhere in the middle. So they had an intermediate number of eggs that they were producing overall on average, and so there was some partial rescue there. And the reason I am talking about eggs and not hatchling numbers is because when we examined those females that laid eggs, hatching success for them, 80% of those eggs hatched regardless of diet. So basically, if females laid eggs, they were likely to hatch. So in summary, between early season fruit-fed females and late season fruit-fed females, we see that survival is lower, fecundity is lower in early season fruit females compared to late season fruit females, but hatching success is relatively the same. And when we compare those results to the switched fruit females, which is here, we see that survival, although it looks like it was very different, we did not find statistically significant differences in terms of survivorship, but we did find differences in female fecundity, where females fed the switch diet were able to recover some reproduction or more so than those that were fed the early season fruit, but not as much as those fed the late season fruit. And hatching success was relatively the same. So our results support a compensatory adaptation from a poor early juvenile diet through an improved adult diet. And it looks like females are utilizing those resources for reproduction, which may be really good for organisms that are primary consumers or relatively short-lived or highly predated upon. Because if they are highly predated upon, they're able to reproduce and achieve some kind of fitness. Whereas if they were to devote those resources to growth and survivorship and not to reproduction, they may die naturally before they can produce any offspring and thus not achieve any fitness. And so before I end, I just wanted to thank all of the wonderful people that have helped me come up with this study and fine-tune the manuscript, and all of the wonderful undergrads that have collected the data and all my funding sources. And I will take any questions. Thank you.